real estate
affects the market as a whole, which then sometimes will affect the 10-year.
Right. It'll come in.
to real life.
We all learn in different ways. If you think about it, Wayne Dyer might not attract everybody.
And everything in between.
Mission was really to help people just to reach their full potential.
The Brad Weisman Show. And now, your host, Brad Weisman.
All right, we are back. Man, we're back. And this is going to be a good one, Hugo.
I can see it, and I can feel it.
You can feel it? You can feel it. I can feel it, too. So we had a guest on not too long ago. And you might remember her. Her name is Sylvie Di Giusto. She is phenomenal. We talked about all kinds of stuff. First impressions, professional image. We went through online reputation, your digital footprint, all different kinds of things. And we have her back, but we have her back in the studio. Before it was streaming, now she's here live in the studio. And I just want to say thanks for being here, Sylvia. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited.
You're so excited. Good.
To finally be in the famous studio here.
I don't know if it's famous. I don't know.
I'm even wearing sneakers.
I was going to ask you, what are those? They're nice.
That's the only red stripe that I could offer. I was prepared for this studio.
I am so impressed. When I saw the sneakers when you came in, I was like, those are nice sneakers.
Yes.
They're really nice.
My team was very worried where I'm going. You're wearing sneakers? Who is this guy?
You should see what my wife says when we go to weddings and I'm dressed in a really nice suit. And she's like, you're not going to wear the red sneakers, are you? I'm like, well, I probably should. And then when I don't, people get mad that I don't have them on. It's crazy. It's crazy. So thanks for being here. You know, you are all over the world. You were just up in New York City. You were in Chicago, I think you said before that. You are a keynote speaker all over the place. And I know you're going to be in Philadelphia tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I'm just super excited because we're going down there to see you. Hugo and I are making the trip down.
That's right.
And excited to see you speak there. And I just wanted to dig in a little bit about what you're doing. You're writing books. You're speaking everywhere. How did you get into that?
How did I get into that? I spent 20 years in corporate myself.
Okay.
And I had the pleasure to build up a management academy for Europe's biggest retail and tourism company. And I was hiring speakers for most of my career. So I was on the other side.
Did you think that at that moment you could do that?
No, not at all.
You thought there's no way I could ever do this?
No way.
Why? Because of fear of being up in front of people, or just
Everything.
Not your thing?
A fear of being in front of people, and in particular not in a language that isn't my first language.
Right, yeah. I never even think about that part. I mean,
right,
and you have the same situation. I mean, Hugo's from Guatemala, and you know, so this is not his native language, but that is very intimidating, right? Mm-hmm.
And then something life-changing happened. I always had a lifelong dream to live in the United States.
Oh wow!
Since I am a child, and I applied for internships. I applied for visa.
Yeah.
I tried to come over for work. I always say I dated probably every single American who ever crossed Europe to come here. It never worked out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And then in the most unexpected moment, when I already gave up, the day my daughter was born, my husband walked into the hospital and said, I have a job offer in Philadelphia.
Get out of here. That he had a job offer in Philadelphia.
Yes.
So that's weird, right? That's how things work.
That's how things work. And then he said, but you're going to stay here and settle in with the baby?
Yeah.
And I'm going to fly back forth for a while, and then you come over in half a year or so.
Oh, my goodness. That's a lot.
I said, no.
I was just going to say,
no.
Did you go for that?
No, because I'm waiting for that day since I am 5 years old.
Oh, that's cool.
So 9 days later, with a newborn on my lap, I was on a plane and moved to the United States.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy! And you didn't look back at that point. That was it. You were here.
It.
And where did you land?
In Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia. So Philly is really where you landed.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
After 1 year, they wanted us back, and I said, "No, this is my home."
Wow.
So at one point, I wanted to go back to work. I struggled with the idea to go back into corporate and thought, what else could I do? And then I thought maybe I switch sides and share something I learned during my corporate time. Became a speaker, highly unsuccessful the first 2 years. I had no idea what I was doing. And
That is so you just jumped into it.
I just jumped into it.
Wow.
And nowadays, Hugo, I have to tell you what has become my most unique selling point
Is your accent.
is actually my accent.
Absolutely.
I read that on your website that your exotic accent is included.
Yes, yes.
It is, and it's a great accent. It's interesting for especially for Americans. We love a good accent. I mean, we really do. I don't know what it is. We just do, and it just you actually want to listen. You want to listen, but also beyond that, and just real quick, obviously your message and your passion and your authenticity comes through.
Yeah.
If you just had the accent, it wouldn't be everything. You have to have all that content behind
and content
it.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
But one day when we lived in New York City after Philadelphia, one day I got a call from a TV producer.
Oh.
And they asked me to come into their studio if I would comment on the public persona and perception of Chris Christie back then.
Oh, wow.
And I said, sure. I had no idea, to be honest, who Chris Christie was. I was never in front of a camera, but which entrepreneur doesn't jump onto the first big media opportunity? So I jumped into a cab, drove into that studio, said something about Chris Christie, and they invited me back.
Oh, wow.
And back. Again and again. And every single week I found myself in between those well-spoken political experts
Yeah.
with their picture-perfect English
Yeah.
that used words that were so sophisticated, Brad. And
Yeah.
they sounded so yummy to me. I had no idea what they meant.
Right.
And watching myself on TV, I hated it. I hated to hear myself in between those well-spoken experts. So at the holiday party, one evening, I approached the producer and shared that insecurity with him.
Oh.
And he looked at me and said, that's the reason why we invite you. Because you sound like an international expert.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And you say things so simple that our viewers understand you, but they don't understand the others.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that
yeah.
changed everything for me and gave me also a huge push of
So you had a
confidence.
limiting belief. You had a limiting belief that you not having maybe the English language at that moment mastered, which none of us do. Just so you know, I'm hearing new words, and I'm 54, and I've been around here forever. Still hear new words, and I'm like, what the heck is that?
Especially if you're a teenager.
Especially when he says words, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, we speak real good.
Real good. That's right. So and it's an interesting story, and that's what happened. That gave you the confidence to keep moving.
Absolutely.
Amazing. And now you're speaking now for how many years? 10 years? No, more than that.
15
years.
15 years.
Wow. And it was funny. You had said, so what do your kids think of this?
Oh, they are so embarrassed. They are so embarrassed.
Same as mine.
Their mom is on social media, which is so
That is
embarrassing.
hilarious.
Their mom is on stages, which is so embarrassing. Sometimes in the airport, people recognize me because they have been in some sort of audience.
Sure.
So embarrassing. But they are now in an age where everything related to parents is just embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a little talk about this before we went on, and we had to kind of have the same time. It's the same thing, you know. Your parents, as parents, they're like, "You're a dork." I mean, like, really? I'm like, "Well, you're not. You're not fun. You're not even cool at all." You know.
Not at all.
It's funny. Yeah. So let's get back into some of the stuff that I really enjoyed, and I was telling you this before we went live, is that one of the things that really caught my attention, and maybe we can just dig into it a little bit more and just repeat it because I thought it was good, was the first impression stuff. Because no matter what you do in life, I don't care if it could be in your relationships, it could be, dating, we talk about that. It could be business, it could be you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is. First impressions are just huge. And we even talked about, I think what you brought up was relating to the business of real estate, was, first impression on a house. We think of first impressions a lot of times maybe on just people, but their objects have first impression effects.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit. You had said when we talked about that, we talked about, excuse me, how the brain tries to justify. Can you go over that again and kind of explain how our brains work?
Let's take a different
different way. Yeah.
All of us traveled at one point,
yes.
right? And we checked into a hotel.
Yeah.
Let's walk into a lobby of a hotel for a moment.
Okay.
And the receptionist is distracted and doesn't take care of you instantly. And you are already annoyed because you really just want to go into your room. And then finally the receptionist looks up and checks you in. And then finally you end up at the elevator. And then, do you notice how long it takes that the elevator comes down?
Yeah.
And then you go into the elevator, and then you look at the menu that is in the elevator, and oh my God, it's too small or too expensive.
right.
But you're already annoyed about the options. And then your room happened to be just next to the ice machine. And then you open the door, and it has some sort of weird smell. And then you find that little piece of paper that the cleaning lady didn't catch when she cleaned the room.
Were you in my room at one point? This sounds like my experience almost every time. So you see that. Go ahead. Now what happens?
It's a variety of unconscious biases working against that hotel brand. Because at the very beginning, you had an interaction that wasn't positive. And your brain is looking for proof because human beings want to be right. We don't enjoy being wrong.
Oh, it's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are looking for proof and ignore anything that goes against our first initial opinion about something or somebody.
Yeah.
Let's imagine we would have walked into that hotel and the receptionist would have welcomed us with a big with our name already or something very positive. I promise you would have walked to that elevator still so impressed by that welcome, you wouldn't even have noticed that it took a little bit longer.
Wow, it's crazy.
That elevator took.
So that
come
changes
down.
the whole thing.
Yes.
You don't even notice the menu then in the elevator.
Yes.
You don't.
You might have walked up and think, oh, I'm so glad that I'm next to the ice machine because I'm going to have a bottle of rosé in my room tonight.
Which sounds like a great idea, yeah.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, that's that is amazing. So we basically, and that's why planting that seed for any business. And when they always say that, in Keller Williams, we call the person at the front desk the director of first impressions. You probably know that because you know KW very well. Yes. But that's why they call it that. They're the director of first impressions.
Our brain is actually quite lazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't
interesting.
like to work. And that's why we always take shortcuts. And those shortcuts that we take are based on past experiences that we have. And that's why we always think, oh yeah, we're right. We have done this before, right?
Yep.
This is going to happen.
Hey guys, I want to take a second and thank Comfort Pro. Since 2001, Comfort Pro has been helping customers stay comfortable where they live, work, and play. They have 24/7 emergency service and a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. If you need help with your heating and air conditioning or indoor air quality, call Comfort Pro at 484-917-1803. Mention the show and receive a free humidifier with the installation of a complete system. Yeah.
And so you need to be aware that very often you are just very much influenced by your past experiences and by stereotypes that are influenced by the culture you grew up in, by the family that raised you, by the generation you are from, by your friends, your mentors, your colleagues, your bosses. Your brain is not as logical and rational as you think.
It's funny. So now my thing with that then, okay, so there's two things there. We have the person that gave the experience, which would be the front desk girl, and there's the person that gained the experience, whether it be good or bad. So obviously as a business owner, we really, really have to make sure that right there, that interaction in the beginning is absolutely the best that can possibly be.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it doesn't matter how good the chef is. It doesn't matter how clean the room is. Those kind of things. It starts to starts there.
It way harder for everybody else to recover from that. And one of my keynotes, my signature keynote is called "The Power of Choice," because that person has the power of choice here to make the intentional choice to create an environment and an interaction.
Yeah.
With that person to set a tone.
Yeah.
It's all about setting the right tone in the very beginning.
Yeah.
To help the rest of the team to have an easier path to fulfill the customer experience in a way that this customer not just leaves happy, but also comes back and talks with others about the
Yeah.
experience.
It's amazing. And then that too, word of mouth. I mean, that can kill business right there. It's
Exactly.
incredible. And the person that had the experience, when we talk about this side of that story too, is there's a responsibility, I think, a little bit on that person to try to get to another level where they can look beyond those things
Yes,
too.
yes, yes.
And and we talk about that a lot in different things that we do in sales. You can't just like go, oh, well, that person's terrible, and then that makes your whole day horrible. That doesn't work either.
I catch myself every single day that I'm heavily biased.
Yeah,
Heavily.
we all are.
We all
yeah,
are,
exactly.
right? But I think that's a huge step, that you are aware that, or self-aware that not all of your decisions that you make are as rational as you think. Now, here's the challenge with self-awareness. We very often think the older we become, the more experienced we are, the more successful we are in our business, the higher we are on a career ladder, the more self-aware we are. The opposite is true.
Now, why is that?
I call it the CEO disease. The
CEO disease. Got it. Yeah.
Because that's a bias too. You are just confirming yourself that everything in the past you have done right.
So we're doing this. We're patting ourselves on the back. Yeah, sure.
And on top of this, the higher you are and the more power you have and the more influence you have, the less people are telling you the truth to your face.
So true. So that's true too. Yeah, you're right. That's very true. And that is something that you don't even think about most of the time, is that as you get older, more experience, more wisdom, you're actually worse at the self-aware. Being self-aware is so important.
It is.
So important.
It is. And the only way to treat that is to, again, intentionally, the power of choice, to surround yourself with people of opposite opinions. I think as humans, we have also a tendency to surround ourselves with likes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we feel safe. And I consciously try to surround myself with people where I know we are on the opposite of opinions.
Yeah.
Where we are on the opposite of lifestyles, where we are on the opposite of business experiences, because that helps me to become more self-aware, because it's like a mirror that they put in front of me, where I see, oh yeah, there's another perspective that I haven't seen.
And also with what you do, as far as a keynote speaker, that type of person is probably in your audience. It might not be that exact person, but that makeup of personality is in your audience.
Absolutely.
And they always say you got to know your audience, right? It's very, it's funny. One of the things I do when I come into a place like that, whether it be a bar, lobby, or anything, and I get met with that type of not so good service, okay? I make it my goal to make them smile.
Well, yes.
I really do. I tell my wife this all. Like I said, and if I can't, I get kind of mad. Like I'm usually pretty good at getting them to smile. I'll say something. It might be some smart ass comment I make or whatever. But usually I'll get them to smile. But to me at that point, I broke that little barrier there for a little bit, and hopefully made a difference in their day or whatever. But that's a challenge I love.
The grumpier you are, the happier I become.
Yeah, it's exactly. And it's funny. And some people, it ticks them off, they get worse. But some people, they actually lighten up, One of the things they always say too, when you're at the restaurant or at a bar, learn the person's name. I always do that. I have a good friend of mine. His name's John Gerhardt. He's very good with people, good salesman. And he always said, you will get so much better service if you ask for their name.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Do you see that too?
Yeah.
Because you travel a lot.
It's the small details that matters.
Yeah.
Micro choices that have a macro impact.
Yeah. And you say 7, and you were saying before, 7 seconds we have.
Yes. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. There are many studies out there.
Yeah.
I use one that says 7 seconds, 11 decisions. There are others that say 13 seconds, 4 decisions, others at milliseconds. What they all have in common is that, first of all, people misuse studies just for the fact that they have
to make it, make it for their thing.
Number,
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And I don't want to do that.
No, I gotcha.
But the second thing that they have in common is it happens automatically, and it has nothing to do with the fact if you're a good human being or
Yeah.
not, if you want to do it or not. It's just automated brain performance. It's survival.
Is there a
Keep going
second
for a
impression?
Absolutely.
There is.
There's a third.
There's a
fourth,
third.
A fifth. A sixth. There are thousands.
How far does this go?
Yes, there are thousands.
So
of versions
is it
that you
hard? But it's hard to break through that first, I would
Yes,
think, right?
yes.
So once the human mind, if I meet somebody, shake their hand, you know, do get their name and all that stuff, it's a very short period of time. We know there's going to be some kind of an opinion that was made. Okay. Oh, that guy's red sneakers are stupid. That kind of an opinion, something like that. And then, but from there on, it's hard to reverse that back.
Yes. So, Brad, if I would give you a list of 30 items to memorize,
That would be a problem.
but I give you 5 minutes, okay?
Right. Okay.
And in half an hour, I would ask you about those 30 items on that list. Which one would you most likely remember?
The first 5.
And?
And the last one. Ah, darn it. I fell right into her trap. Gosh, darn it. Yeah, that's so funny, right?
It's a scientific.
So the middle
proven
part doesn't
fact.
matter.
The middle part, it matters.
Yeah, but it's not.
But again, the brain is lazy. So it focuses in the beginning and then it goes to rest.
It's so wild.
And then when it realizes the end is coming, it gets awake again. And so the first impression matters, but the last one matters too. We always said the first impression opens the door and the last one will determine if the client comes back through that door.
You know, one of the issues I have with that, go up to meet somebody. Hi, my name's Brad Weisman, right? They say their name. My mind is doing the judging thing. And if they ask me their name, like 5 seconds, I have no idea what their name is. That's terrible. But they say, have you ever heard of what you're supposed to repeat their name? I guess a couple times. And yeah, do you have issues with that, or have you gotten past that?
No, and it's gotten worse for me since we are in a virtual world.
Oh yeah, it makes it worse.
I meet people on the screen first, and then they walk up to me in person, and they remember me, and I'm kind of, I know I have seen you
it's horrible.
somewhere, but I have no idea who you are.
Yeah, so it's not just me then.
No.
It's
No.
not just
You
me.
know what?
Or maybe we are getting old. Is that an option?
Look, this show could be over right now.
No, you know what I have noticed is that depending on if you make a good impression on the person, at the end the person will say, "What was your name again?" Because they want to remember your name.
yes.
They always
Yes.
ask you. Yeah,
So that's a good one too, because then that's at the end, and now you're done with I'm telling you, you're measuring people up. When you first meet somebody and you shake their hand, you say your name, and then they say theirs. I never hear that name the first time. It's everything else is going on. It's hard to get past that. I always tell my wife, this is what I tell my wife. Of course, people are going to know what I mean when I do this, but I always tell her when we're anywhere, if I don't introduce you, that means I don't know their name. So what that means is what she'll do is put her hands out. Hi, I'm Brad's wife, Jess. And now they say, "Oh, I'm so," and I'll go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't."
Yeah.
And then I get the name. Yeah. So there's my secret, everybody.
There you
There's
go.
my secret. Everybody's gonna be like, "He doesn't know who the heck I am." It's funny. But yeah, let's go into some of this other stuff we didn't cover. One of the ones, I mean, and you know, obviously anything politics is always it's just a touchy subject, and we're not going to talk about sides of politics or anything. We're just going to talk about talking about politics. You know, but there's a thing in political reputation. You know, do we alienate 50% of the people in our sphere for business if we talk about what we believe in?
No, you alienate more than 50%.
It's more than 50%.
Yeah, for the following reason. I think the saying with the 50% just comes from the two parties.
Two parties, yeah. Okay,
right?
got it,
And
got it.
You will always offend one of the two, whatever you say.
Right, right.
But I give you an example from my world, the speaking world. You lose more people than just the 50% in terms of, for example, referral business. Let's imagine you are a fellow speaker. And I see you posting on your Facebook page your opinions about whatever site you are on, and you are very outspoken. Then you are off my list of referrals.
Wow.
Because I can't trust you anymore. I can't send you to one of my valued clients.
Right, because
You are a risk.
oh man, that's what never thought about the referrals part. That's good. That's really good.
You become a risk to every single speaker bureau. in the market.
Right, because nobody wants to book you then.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
So-
if you say one word, you're going to tick off a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
You become a risk to event planners. You become a risk maybe even to the people that agree with you politically.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they think, wait, what if he's so outspoken online? Will he bring that topic on the stage? I want to book him for his real estate business,
Right,
for his
right.
podcast
Yeah.
experience, for his business insights. I don't want to book him for his political insights.
Yeah.
You might even lose the people who are politically on your side.
Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
just make yourself a risk.
Yeah, and that's why you just don't do it. I mean, yeah, but it was funny. It was on here before. I'm not sure exactly why I had it on there. Let's go into one of the things I've been talking about recently on some podcasts and stuff like that is longevity in business. You know, what is your take on that? You know, that is something that's hard to do. A lot of times people will bounce around or they'll just get sick of it. Or so what do you think about longevity in business?
I can only say that from my perspective of being a speaker, that I have to reinvent myself constantly.
Yeah. Are your kitchen and bathroom remodels a little overdue? Well, now's your chance to call First Response Contracting. John Sellers will take care of you. 484-256-7136. They do residential and commercial, and they're licensed and insured. Give them a call at 484-256-7136.
When I entered this industry, I thought that at the very beginning I'm going to go up, and then at one point, after a lot of hard work, right, then I can fly this way for a long time.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. It's always up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you get tired and think, when is this ever going to stop? And it's never going to stop. But you know, the waves up just become higher and higher.
Yeah.
And they become higher if you reinvent yourself constantly. 5 years ago, I was at Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, I love those shows.
And out of a sudden, I saw horses running across the stage. And it was such a blurry moment. It was not clear, were those real horses? Were they just imaginary horses? Where did they come from? Where did they go? And then they appeared again. And I was so fascinated by that micro moment that I went home and started researching what just happened. And it turned out that they used holographic technology because they didn't want to use living animals anymore. And then during the pandemic, when everybody went to virtual presentations, which I never really fell in love with because I missed the human connection. I remembered that moment and started researching again. And during the entire pandemic, I reinvented my entire speaking business and developed a technology that I now use on stage.
I've seen videos.
I'm
it looks amazing.
The world's first 3D immersive speaker, where I turn the stage now into a 3D immersive environment with holograms
I love that.
and 3D imaging. So long story short, this took 5 years.
Wow.
4 years of development. Since 1 year we are performing it. It took an enormous amount of money.
I was going to say, that can't be cheap.
It took a lot of failure. I've learned a lot of lessons. The first provider I worked with didn't work out. It took so many naysayers.
You're always going to have that.
Yes.
Because you're doing something different.
And it took so much marketing and education of the market to launch something that has never existed before.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
But if I wouldn't have done it, I would be just another keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And I just encourage you, when you think about your question and when you listen to this out there, if you just swim with all the others, then you will always be in the crowd and will always be average.
Yeah.
But to stand out and to have long-term success, you constantly need to reinvent yourself and be ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
And do
I agree.
something brave and do something uncomfortable, because the comfort zone is a very dangerous place to be.
How many times do we talk about
That's
that,
right.
Hugo?
That's right.
Nothing good happens in the comfort zone. No, it just doesn't. It's so funny, and you're right on. I talk about longevity a lot in our business because I've been doing this for 33 years, and not every realtor makes it that long. And it's reinventing yourself. You know, even down to the point where I say, change your picture every 3 to 5 years, even more if you want to. A lot of people in business that use photos with their business, they end up using the ones when they graduated from high school, or stuff that's 10, 15 years old, and people see you, they don't even know who the heck you are. They don't even recognize you. So it's that kind of stuff, but it's reinventing yourself, staying into your industry, and actually pioneering something in your industry, which you did. Are we going to see that when we see you on stage?
No, not tomorrow.
I got to see that at some point.
Yes, but if I ever am in the neighborhood.
If you're ever around here, anywhere in the area, I'd love to see that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. So longevity, that was good. That was very good. Is there anything else? Let's talk about your books here. So you wrote a book a while ago called The Image of Leadership.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, I wrote my first ever book, The Image of Leadership.
So your book's in like what, 5th grade, 4th grade now? But you wrote this, and now what you did is you went back and you added all these 10 different topics, right? Or 10 different just specialization.
Again, longevity. After 10 years, I had to look into the mirror, and I realized, you know what? What I thought 10 years ago
Isn't that something?
is not as accurate anymore. The world has moved on.
You stopped talking about fax machines, right?
For example.
For example.
And,
but you have
I
one.
updated it, and then to celebrate the 10th year anniversary,
books
I released 10 special editions.
These are the books here.
My favorite one,
there we
though,
go.
is this one. Because
That one
it's
there.
Here in your office.
Yes,
I'm so honored.
this
It's
one here is
in
up on the
your
shelf.
office.
It's been
Yes,
there
on
for
the
quite some
shelf,
time,
yes.
actually. Since we talked to you last, it's been there.
This is The Image of Leadership for Real Estate.
Yep, and then I have
Then we have
for
one,
women,
I
which is
said
a
the
good one.
For women, yes.
Yep.
Specifically
And then I got another one here, which
for
is
sales.
for sales.
Yeah, there's also one for healthcare. There is one for builders, movers, and makers. There is one for
like that.
government. There is one for hospitality.
Wow.
There are 10 special editions out there specifically for the audiences. I am so blessed, Brad. I was able to serve during the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. How many thousands of people have you influenced, do you think? It's got to be. It's a lot.
It's
thousands.
a lot. And I have an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh my gosh.
And it's always difficult because I don't go through and count them, but I know kind of, is this a 500 people crowd? Is this a 5,100 people crowd? And I'm a little above 500,000.
Oh my gosh. Now you want to talk about legacy, right?
Yeah.
That's you got to be proud of that.
It's such a gift. It's
Well, you exude that. You are definitely one of the most out of anybody that we've interviewed, and I love all my guests. But you have a radiance and a way about you. Even when you were on the streaming, Hugo and I talked about it after we were done with the show, when we did the streaming show, and you definitely have. You're very authentic, very warm with authenticity, and it's just great. I love it. So keep up what you're doing. It's really, really cool. And we're going to be seeing you tomorrow. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask?
Yes, I have many questions, but I just limit myself to 2.
Okay, go ahead.
So beyond Sylvie the speaker, but just Sylvie, the little girl that grew up, that wanted to come to America. At the end of your life, what will you say will be your greatest satisfaction? By what will you measure the success of your life as a person at the end?
Mm-hmm. At the end of my life, there is, oh my God, I'm going to cry.
He's really good at questions.
Oh my God.
He's going to fire me soon.
So I come from a very dysfunctional family, very dysfunctional. And I'm going to measure at the end of my life that I have created a relationship with my children that is not as dysfunctional as it happened in my very own upgrowing and my direct family.
Wow, that's cool.
Good.
That's good. Very good.
Now, in everything that you do, this is my last question. In everything that you do, As you mentioned in when you were talking, you were saying that what you thought 10 years ago may have changed, right? But what have you identified is a characteristics of yours or a guiding principle that no matter what, it's so in your identity, so ingrained that you think you'll always have it with you. What is that guiding principle?
Oh, many. But let me share the one that guides me on the stage, if you don't mind. I don't have television at home. Not for a specific reason. We just moved to Florida and then never installed. I mean, there are sunsets, there are dolphins, there's the ocean.
Yeah.
And after a while, we realized, oh, wow, we never installed the TV. And then decided,
So why install it? You don't need it.
Right? So, but when I watch a movie, I download something or I rent something, it's a very intentional choice.
Sure.
And I downloaded or rented a movie. And did you ever have that when you watch a movie and after 3 minutes you know, oh my God, probably that's going to be bad?
Yeah, many times.
And then after 10 minutes you know, oh God,
It's going to be really bad. Yeah.
it's bad. And after 20 minutes you know, oh Lord, it is so bad. And after 40 minutes, you are so far in that you think, well, now I just got to watch it to the end. Because
Because now you're
in.
committed. You're committed.
Right? I'm committed. Now I'm going to watch it to the end. I watched this movie, and after 90 minutes, Hugo, I was so angry at myself.
Oh.
I was so disappointed in myself because I thought to myself, I just stole 90 minutes out of my life that I will never get back.
You're so right.
90 minutes out of my lifetime. I will never get back. And every time I go on stage, I do the math, talking about 500,000 people. I do the math and think, so there are 500 people out there. I'm going to speak for 45 minutes. How much lifetime am I going to steal that they will never get back? And that is my responsibility that guides me as a speaker. I'm going to steal time from their life that they will never get back. And I honor this stage like no place other on earth because I have the responsibility to make every minute worth up there for them.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, that's amazing because it's a responsibility. Like you said, it's the perfect word for it. If I'm going to take up 45 minutes of somebody's life, I got to make sure I'm putting value in there. I'm putting in something that's going to mean something's going to change their life.
And it's the greatest gift
that
is. They give me to sit there and
awesome.
To listen to my work
and you're good at it
and that accent.
Well, you're very good at it.
Thank you.
So I want to say again, thank you for coming to the studio. I know it was not easy for you to be coming from New York to here, and you had to rent a car and all this stuff, and we really appreciate that. You did a lot out of your way and out of your comfort zone to be here, and we appreciate it.
No, I didn't. It's such a pleasure to be here. I watched your 200th episode, and I just
that's so funny. So funny.
But I was a
Appreciate
little
that.
bit nervous because I had to step into the shoes or footprints of your children and your wife.
Yeah.
And so I am nervous because, they set the bar high.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Studio.
They definitely do. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. All right. There you have it. Sylvie Di Giusto. Man, second time here on the show, and we are so grateful to have her. Looking forward to see her live on stage. Come see us here every Thursday at 7 p.m. and meet some amazing people just like Sylvie and hear some great stories. We appreciate you.